hot seat today, Bengaluru-based startup Ulook Technologies has raised 19 crore rupees in seed funding led by Growx Ventures and InfoEdge Ventures to advance autonomous satellite swarms for radio frequency intelligence. The company plans to use the funds to accelerate aerial and space demonstrations and secure its first commercial and defense partnerships. Ulook is developing cutting-edge systems that can detect, classify and track emitters through RF fingerprinting from space. Joining me now to discuss this further is Siddhesh Naik, the co-founder and CEO of Ulook Technologies. Siddhesh, thank you so much for taking time out and, being here with us on Startup Street. Before we get into the fundraise, if you could sort of take us through what you do at Ulook, can you break it down for us in layman's term and take us through what you're basically solving for?
Thank you so much. Good evening to you. We like to go by Ulook. Ulook is actually a Sanskrit word, which stands for owl. So how an owl sort of in a forest sort of represents a sentinel, hearing to different signals and frequencies and so on. Our satellites in orbit will be able to hear different signals. Typically you're used to satellites imaging a certain area in different sort of techniques. What's unique about our satellites is they hear for different signals from the ground. So essentially, it's a cluster of satellites, or what we like to call a swarm of satellites, where more than 2 to 3 of these satellites work in collaboration with each other, in tandem with each other, to sort of track different emitters or radio emitters on ground. Right? So these could be a range of radio frequency emitters. Recently, we've heard about GPS disruptions around the Indira Gandhi International Airport in Delhi. Now our system can detect these kind of sort of interferences and so on. So a host of radio frequency applications are sort of what we are targeting. So we are building satellites that can pick up different kinds of they sort of do remote sensing in the RF domain.
Sure. What does this 19 crore rupee seed round mean for Ulook's growth trajectory and upcoming milestones? How will, the funding sort of accelerate these plans to commercialize these autonomous satellite swarms?
So, currently we validated a lot of our tech at the ground level, right? And there's lab validation for a lot of tech that we worked on. The seed round helps us accelerate validating this technology through a lot of aerial demonstrations. So we'll demonstrate this tech first using a host of UAVs, drones that sort of mimic that swarming behavior, eventually sort of leading to in-orbit demonstrations using our first sort of capability proving satellites. So this seed round helps us validate that tech, take it from lab to air and eventually to orbit.
Sure. If you could, sort of explain how this RF fingerprinting from space actually works and why it's considered a breakthrough, if you could give us, some use cases as well.
Perfect. So, fingerprint, we're sort of all familiar with what fingerprinting stands for, right? RF fingerprinting is sort of IDing out or fingerprinting every single RF emitter that's out there on the surface. Here we find unique ID and characteristics of an RF emitter in the sort of radio frequency domain. The reason why, if we consider an emitter from, the same manufacturing line, same make, same model, same everything, over a period of time, due to say exposure to weather or inconsistencies or minor tolerances in manufacturing, leads to every emitter having a unique sort of signature of its own or a unique fingerprint of its own. And this is classically a decade-old tech, but this has mostly been demonstrated using ground-based solutions or at best lab-based solutions. What we've seen in the past and a lot of our current research is towards analyzing data that's already been collected from space and then deploying algorithms that uniquely identify these emitters. So we're trying this on a large scale, from a space application for the first time, and that's sort of where a lot of our groundwork has been.
Sure. And you've also mentioned partnerships with defense and research stakeholders, right? What kind of collaborations are you looking to build in the coming months? And can you take us through, the kind of clients that you will be working with?
So, a major part of our client is going to be the defense and security, the defense and intelligence establishment, with, again, maritime as, sort of a core civil commercial sort of sector. The partnerships that we're looking for is, a lot of national research labs within the country who we're looking forward to in terms of collaborating in terms of their testing facilities, the R&D expertise that already exists in the country. ISRO's been one of the pioneering organizations globally to sort of advance space research. So we look forward to, working with them in terms of getting our satellites to orbit. We also look at, organizations like DRDO and other research labs who do fantastic work and sort of hope to build on, some core deep research that has already happened at these labs, and then sort of build and commercialize and take it to orbit.
Sure, and with global interest in space tech rising, right, how do you sort of plan to position Ulook in the international markets? Is that something that you are eyeing or looking at?
So that's interesting because both me and my co-founder, we studied in North America. In fact, my co-founder has very recently made the move back to India. So in that sense, we sort of globally trained, globally educated sort of engineers with sort of heritage. But again, we've decided to set shop in Bangalore because this is where a lot of there's amazing enthusiasm in the ecosystem. There's a lot of regulatory support. The current environment is very conducive for organizations like Ulook to thrive. So we're building out of India, we're building from India, but really the market is global, right? Because space is a global business. So we are targeting a global business with the Indian establishment as the anchor customer.
Sure. So, bringing your global expertise back home is what you're doing and then building for the world as well. But, if you could quickly tell us, are there any specific timelines for the first satellite swarm launch or aerial demonstration? What are the targets for the year coming ahead?
So the aerial demonstrations are something that sort of kick off mid next year. They go through an evolution of tests and sort of, building on to each test that happens. Once sort of we validate tech at that aerial level, that's sort of when we move to the next stage, which is the in-orbit demonstration. So that's largely the timelines we're looking at.
Okay.
But again, yeah.
Sure. All right, Siddhesh, we're completely out of time, but thank you so much for joining us here on Startup Street, and we wish you all the best on this journey going forward.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's time now to head into a short